Hello, everyone. How's it going? You know who this is, and you know what's going on because you read the title. Um, basically, this occurred yesterday on Friday, May 31st, 2019. Here we are on Saturday, June 1st, 2019, day after. Yesterday for me, I thought was going to be a pretty normal day. I went to work as I always do during weekdays, or did, I guess. And, first couple hours at work were completely normal. Around, I don't know, I think around 11:15, maybe a little after 11, somewhere around 11 something. I get a message from one of the managers there asking me to come into his office. Now, keep in mind, this manager, not my boss. We'll get to that here in a minute. Not my boss at all. So I go in there and I'm like, okay. And he's in there with the HR guy, and I'm like, whatever, maybe they were just talking. Then I'm asked to close the door. So obviously, at that point, I know what's about to happen. And what I assumed was going to happen happened. They told me they were terminating my employment, and they gave me some extremely bullshit reasons why. The first reason because they gave me a little piece of paper with 3 reasons on it, and the first one was basically related to, it said something about my technical skills not being up to snuff, which is ironic because during other times in my employment there, which I'll get to, they actually told me my technical skills were very good. So I knew that was a lie because they didn't specify what those skills were. So obviously they just put it on there to make themselves feel better, I guess. The next thing said something about unprofessional behavior, and then something about not really getting along with other employees. So obviously I always endeavor to be as, professional and get along with people as well as I can in any context. So whatever. I think really what the bottom line was is a few people complained about me, and apparently that had enough impact to have them decide to terminate my employment. And during the firing, there were 2 really dumb statements made by those parties, and I'll enlighten you to what one of them was. The manager, we'll call him. Basically, he said, I wasn't sure you'd be as shocked as you appeared to be. I'm just thinking to myself, what did you really think would happen? That I'd be like expecting to be fired? I'd come to work. Oh, today is the day I'm going to get fired. Do. I can't wait. Maybe it'll happen. Huh? Yeah. And the reason I was so shocked by it is the fact that many employers, not all, but many employers, before you get fired, there's usually a process before that happens. Usually it's, there's some sort of a, quote, verbal warning, which is always on a piece of paper, and you have to sign it, basically stating, we talked about this issue and we made you aware that this is an issue, and don't do it again, kind of thing, right? That's a verbal warning. And then there will be maybe a written warning next if you continue to do whatever the thing was you weren't supposed to do. And usually you go through a couple, like 2 or 3 warnings before they cut you loose. I did not have any really such warnings. The closest thing that I had to anything like that was basically I was called on the carpet twice while working there. One time basically was for discussing politics with another employee. The things I was saying to the other employee were completely non-controversial. We weren't being, in my opinion, even a little bit controversial in what we were saying. Basically, we were just saying some facts and figures and giving some opinions, but in a non-controversial, non-confrontational way. But apparently that was enough. That was verboten, right? And then I was basically pulled aside and told that The other time I was pulled aside, I was told there were some behaviors they didn't like, so in some things I talked about that they didn't like, but they didn't really specify exactly what those were. They were pretty vague on it. So what I did at that point, or what I decided at that point, I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to talk to anyone here. I'm going to keep to myself as much as I can. I'm going to try to keep my head down, because it's not worth, jeopardizing anything over, right? So that's what I endeavored to do. And apparently that wasn't enough. And nothing else is ever said to me. And in none of those points did they ever say, this is a warning. They didn't say, this is a verbal warning, this is a written warning. Oh, and during those little meetings they had with me, they told me my technical skills were really good. So that's how I knew the technical skills thing was total bullshit. So that was the closest thing to warnings that I had. That was it. And that's basically the end of the line there. They that was it. And so during this lovely firing process, I did go back at them a little bit. I didn't freak out. I even said to them, I'm not going to have a meltdown. It's not going to solve anything. I said, nothing I'm going to say is going to change what's happening here. I said, basically, I said, you guys, morale is really low here. This is a very toxic work environment. You lack procedures. I said, because then I asked them, don't you usually have a procedure with somebody before you fire them? They said, oh yeah, usually we do. But since you were the network administrator, we can't do that with you because you have access to everything. Okay. So that was total crap, but whatever. I said to them, I said, look, if I was such a problem employee, you could have talked to me a bit, give me a bit more warning that something was, that my job was in jeopardy. Plus, I could have, if I really thought I was that likely to lose my job, I would have just looked for another job. I would have proactively been looking for another job rather than just letting this happen to me. So yeah, that was pretty much it. And then the other stupid comment made during my firing was the HR guy's like, oh, well, we'll send you your last paycheck. Like, the guy's like, yeah, no shit you will. You fucking have to. You can't not pay me. You have to obey the law. So congratulations for that, you stupid asshole. So yeah, after that point, I go home, and I was too angry to really ask coherent questions during the whole thing. So after I was home for an hour or two, I decide to call the HR guy and ask a few questions related to my last paycheck. Now, keep in mind, I have had contract positions that have ended, and there were days when I didn't work the full last day of my contract, but I still got paid for 8 hours. Keep that in mind. So I said, am I going to at least get paid for the entire day Friday? He said, no, you're only going to get paid for 4 hours that day. It's like, that is pathetic, but unsurprising. I said, what about the two, paid time off days I have that are, quote, PTO and not vacation, that I have, but I haven't used? Do I get those? He said, no, you don't get those either. Like, thanks. That's great. So this company is so cheap, so panty-anty that they are not even doing a bare minimum. Of course, the severance isn't going to fucking happen either. So, they are doing the bare minimum required by law when they cut me off. And then he's like, I don't know if I should tell you this or not, but you can file for unemployment. No fucking shit. I said, I fully intend to file for unemployment. Of course I'm going to file for unemployment, you fucking tool. Give me a break. So that's obviously something I'm going to do on Monday. So after all this, what did I actually manage to do yesterday? Well, yesterday I was not super productive, as you could probably imagine. Basically, what I ended up doing, uh, I did do a few productive things, and really the only real productive things I did yesterday was, uh, 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 oh my God, I basically canceled and reduced a few monthly bills. That's all I could do. That was all I was in a mental state to do yesterday. Today I was much more productive. I updated my resume. I put it on a whole bunch of job sites, and I applied for several jobs. I probably spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours doing those things today. So today I was quite a bit more productive in quote job searching activities than I was yesterday. Tomorrow, what I will do is I will send my resume to all of my contacts. I have a whole lot of job recruiters I've worked with, but honestly, I've never really had any luck with them. They've never gotten me any jobs or any good jobs, that's for damn sure. So I don't really know how productive they'll be, but it most certainly does not hurt to send my resume to all of them. So I will send my, basically I'll send out a, hey, I'm looking for a job thing, blah, blah, blah. Here's my latest resume, yada, 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 blah, 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 right? And of course, Monday I'm going to file for as many government benefits as I can. So, I do have a plan forward of, moving past this. But of course, when you're going through this, you feel anger, shock, disappointment, fear. Fear is a very strong emotion in this case. Anxiety, all of these negative emotions you feel when you're going through this. But of course, I am going to push through and get a job as quickly as I can. My other big fear is that even if I get a job, it will be something I don't really want to do. Because, as you may or may not be aware of, there are many, many terrible IT jobs out there. A lot of them involve 24/7, 365 on-call coverage. So I'm afraid that because the fact that I'm just straight up desperate at this point, I'm going to have to take a job like that because, well, nobody wants to be in the lurch where their income is pretty much, down the shitter and you have to do something. So I'm afraid that, very afraid that there's a decent chance that I will end up having to take a job like that. And that will make me miserable just in new and different ways than this. I mean, I've been through this cycle before. I mean, in fact, I went through this exact same thing in February of 2016, but at least that company had a little bit of decency when they did it. They paid me for the whole day. They actually gave me some severance, and they kept my health insurance active for a little bit. So they were actually not bad. This company was just like, fuck you, and my health insurance ended yesterday. So that's another argument for universal health care in this country, but that's going to be a separate video that I'll make very soon. So, I'm going to do what I have to do. I will survive this, I'm sure. It's going to be difficult, and I'm sure I'll get some well wishes down there in the comments, and thank you in advance. I'm sure some folks will do that, which is nice. But that's basically it. Do all the stuff if you want. That's it. I'll see you guys next